What's up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to talk to you about what's potentially the biggest story heading into this offseason around the NHL, and that is Jack Eichel. Where will he be traded? Will he be traded? Will he be in a Sabres uniform next season? What's going to happen with Jack Eichel? Right now, it's very clear that there's a rift between the Buffalo Sabres organization and Jack Eichel. These two, they've been trying to work on a relationship for years, and it's been shaky at times. The Sabres have surrounded Jack Eichel with some bad contracts and lackluster play. Eichel is a superstar talent. He's just 24 years old, and he's locked up for the next 5 years up until 2026. Buffalo isn't really a situation he wants to be in right now. And can you really blame him? The Sabres haven't made the playoffs in the past decade. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about some of the teams rumored to be in the mix for acquiring Jack Eichel in a trade. And to do so, I'm going to start off with the New York Rangers. There's been talk about Jack Eichel going to the New York Rangers for some time now. But it seems very unlikely that the Buffalo Sabres would just trade Jack Eichel, a superstar talent, to the New York Rangers, who are in their division and they're in their state. That trade could really come back to haunt them. The Buffalo Sabres probably want to send Jack Eichel somewhere very far, far away. Unless, of course, the New York Rangers were to sweeten the pot to the point where the Buffalo Sabres think they can win this trade. And to do that, you'd probably have to give up Alexis Lafreniere. I do not see the New York Rangers doing that. I don't see the New York Rangers acquiring Jack Eichel. The next team I want to talk to you about is the Columbus Blue Jackets. They have been rumored for a really long time now. There's even jersey swaps of Jack Eichel to the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets have 3 first-round picks in this year's draft, the 5th overall pick, and then they have the Tampa Bay Lightning and Toronto Maple Leafs picks, which are later-round picks, close to being second-round picks. And they don't exactly have top-tier talent prospects. They have some nice names, Liam Foudy being one of them, but I don't consider these players a pillar of a trade for Jack Eichel. If the Sabres are looking to get value back from the Columbus Blue Jackets, the best thing they could do is get 3 first-round picks and maybe one of these prospects as well. It's going to be a massive asking price for Jack Eichel, and I'd be weary if I was the Buffalo Sabres acquiring 3 first-round picks in a draft. You don't know much about these players this year. It's really hard to get a read on it. This year, more than ever, it's going to be a massive challenge for scouts to determine the true potential of these prospects. So if I was the Sabres, I would really consider that before pulling the gun to acquire 3 first-round picks when 2 of them are later in the round. It's going to be even harder then. Next is the Minnesota Wild, and this is interesting. The Wild could be a great fit for Jack Eichel. Think about what Jack Eichel would do for that fan base and what he would do for that market. A player like Jack Eichel, a big name player, easily the biggest name that would ever be a member of that organization. The Wild have a nice young team, and adding a player like Jack Eichel for the long term, that could really boost this team into contention. And the Wild have 2 first-round picks in this year's draft, their own, and then the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they also have loads of prospects. I think Marco Rossi especially would be a great fit with the Buffalo Sabres. A lot of Sabres fans wanted Marco Rossi over Jack Quinn, and the Sabres ended up drafting Jack Quinn the pick before Marco Rossi. These two were teammates with the Ottawa 67s of the OHL, so they have a chemistry that could be great to acquire Marco Rossi for the Sabres. The Minnesota Wild are going to be tight to the cap. They still have some big contracts on the books. So it may be tricky to acquire Jack Eichel, who's being paid $10 million for the next 5 years. But for a player of his caliber, you can make it work. The Wild could easily clear some more space for this upcoming season by dumping the contract of a guy like Victor Rask, who's getting paid $4 million next season, but he's only on the books for 1 season, so it's not really a long-term solution. And as for the Buffalo Sabres, it's really not a big deal to take on the contract of Victor Rask for 1 year. It's just $4 million, and the team is rebuilding. Another team that's recently been linked to Jack Eichel trade talks is the Chicago Blackhawks. The Blackhawks certainly have the motive and pieces required to acquire Jack Eichel and pull off a trade of this magnitude. And no, I'm not saying trade Patrick Kane to his hometown of Buffalo. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is imagine Jack Eichel on a line with Patrick Kane, two of the greatest American players of all time.
Have a quicker transition. Here's a turnover. Eichel now cutting in. Eichel holding it, scores!
Those two would be lethal together. The Blackhawks hold the 11th overall pick in this year's draft. It's not a top 10 pick, so they would likely have to give up some more of their top-end prospects. And they have some really good prospects. Kirby Dach would be a great fit for Buffalo. He's a center. You trade Jack Eichel away, you get a replacement center for the future. Dach was the 3rd overall selection in 2019's NHL draft. He's just 20 years old, and he played with the Chicago Blackhawks this season. The Sabres could also look to add to their blue line and a player such as Nikita Zadorov or a young Swedish defenseman Adam Boqvist. I consider Chicago to be one of the frontrunners to acquire Jack Eichel. It just makes so much sense. The Blackhawks should be looking to cash in on the ability of Patrick Kane. He is still playing at a very high level, and I don't think their Stanley Cup window is closed quite yet. Acquiring a player like Jack Eichel would definitely help keep that window open for even longer. Let's look further west now. And no, I'm not talking about the Seattle Kraken. People have discussed it. I don't really consider it a possibility. The Kraken hold the 2nd overall pick in this year's draft, but that's all they have. They only have draft picks. They literally have nothing else. And if you're the Buffalo Sabres, I think you want to acquire something that's a sure thing, a prospect rather than the potential to draft a prospect. You just know more about what you're getting, and that's definitely more comfortable when you're trading away Jack Eichel. The two teams out west that I wanted to talk to you about that I really think have an opportunity to acquire Jack Eichel are the LA Kings and the Anaheim Ducks. The Kings hold the 8th overall pick in this year's NHL draft, and they also have loads of prospects. I don't think Quinton Byfield is available. I'd be very surprised to see him included in a trade. I think he is untouchable for this organization. But they have other prospects that could be trade chips in a trade for Jack Eichel, such as Gabriel Velarde, Alex Turcotte, and Arthur Kaleyev. But out of the two California-based teams I believe to be in the mix, I think the Anaheim Ducks are the better suitor for Jack Eichel. The Ducks currently hold the 3rd overall selection in this year's draft, and they have two very appealing prospects that the Sabres would love to acquire in Jamie Drysdale and Trevor Zegras. Maxime Comtois could also be a viable option in a trade for Eichel. But if the Sabres could land Trevor Zegras or Jamie Drysdale and the 3rd overall pick, I think that would be ideal for them. That may be one of their best options in exploring trade possibilities for Jack Eichel.
Seem to be continuing that. Here's Eichel with a steal, though. Makes his way into the Anaheim zone. Eichel leaning towards it and score!
It seems more likely that the Anaheim Ducks would be willing to part ways with Trevor Zegras, a forward, rather than defenseman Jamie Drysdale. Both are very solid options and top prospects in the NHL. Around the NHL, there is a number of teams that could land Jack Eichel. A number of teams would love to have him on their team. They are all in on trying to acquire Jack Eichel because what he can do for a franchise for years.
To the line, Eichel drags it free, backhand score!
But if I had to narrow down my few favorite teams to land Jack Eichel, I think it would have to be the Chicago Blackhawks. That is a match made in heaven. Patrick Kane with Jack Eichel. Are you kidding me? The Anaheim Ducks could be a nice option. I don't think Jack Eichel would necessarily want to go there, but it's California. I would love to go to California. The Anaheim Ducks really need a top-tier center, a franchise center, the caliber of Jack Eichel. That would be perfect for that organization. And then the Columbus Blue Jackets. They just 3 first-round picks. It could be very appealing, but it could also be a massive risk for the Buffalo Sabres. acquiring a player like Jack Eichel could do wonders for the market in Columbus or anywhere really. Acquiring a player like Jack Eichel is going to help out with your sales, and it's most likely going to help out with the product you put out there on the ice. Your team's going to be better. Even with the uncertainty of Jack Eichel's health, he had a herniated disc, and he wants to get a surgery that's never been done on an NHL player. Even with all that uncertainty, teams are going to have to give up a king's ransom to acquire Jack Eichel from the Buffalo Sabres. That is very clear. The Sabres, they have to stay patient. I think a trade is most likely going to happen before the NHL draft, the expansion draft, but I mean, they could very well hold on to him until next season, and I don't know if that's the thing to do. Jack Eichel's value right now might be higher than it is next season when he really gets frustrated. He hasn't really said that much against the Buffalo Sabres organization to hurt his trade value, but he very well could if he becomes more disgruntled. So I think the Buffalo Sabres should make a move right now. They should make a move now. And teams around the league with the Seattle draft coming up, they want to make their game plan. So right now might be the best time to trade Jack Eichel. But I want to know in the comment section below, what do you think? Should the Sabres trade Jack Eichel right now? And where do you think Jack Eichel lands? What team will win the Jack Eichel sweepstakes? Let me know. Thank you for watching this video. As always, I'm your guy Jake. Make sure you check out other content on Maple Leafs Media and stay tuned for more stuff coming your way. Thank you.